the dinner is being sponsored by them. My name is Subh. I'm going to talk about two things today. One is Autolayout and Passbook. So we have been waiting so long since the public release of iOS happened. So even on the groups we are not able to discuss. Now that it's publicly available, we can discuss over some of the APIs. But again, I'm going to talk about two things. David is going to talk about MapKit and social integration. So this talks will mostly be on briefing of these APIs, what you can do with these APIs. We probably are going to have detailed discussions on individual APIs later. So about me, I work with SAP as an iOS application architect. I've been building iOS apps for the last 4 years. Other than Objective-C and iOS, I love Ruby on Rails and Unix. So I'm going to start with Autolayout. A lot of things that I'm going to discuss today is part of the WWDC videos. So it's different videos for Autolayout, we have 3 or 4 videos just all combined together into one. Or 15 minutes talk for Autolayout and 15 minutes for Passbook. And if you have any questions related to these APIs, you can ask me. So one of the things that people ask when iPhone 5 was released, how they're going to manage your applications as per the dollar screen of a new device, right? What's going to happen to the apps that you've already built for iPhone 4 or iPhone 4S? How are you going to use those apps on iPhone 5? Or how are they going to look on iPhone 5? And what will happen if you build your apps for iPhone 5, which is a taller screen, and how are they going to look on iPhone 4 or 4S? So this is what they define Autolayout. It's a constraint-based descriptive layout system. I'll explain what it means. Usually this is how we have been doing app development so far. Every application has a lot of UI components that you add into the applications. May it be a button, may it be an image, may it be a table view or anything. So the way we position those UI components is through frames. And so far we have been hard-coding those frames, the exact position of those frames, we've been hard-coding it. And what happens if you hard-code those frames is it's going to look ugly on a taller screen. Or if you're developing for an iPhone 5, then it's going to look, there will be a lot of empty space on iPhone 4. So this is a typical example of a button that's sitting on the bottom of the application. If you revert on the landscape mode, because you have fixed the size of the button over here, the button is invisible in this mode. So let's do a quick demo. This is a simple application. This is normal view-based application. Let me just build and run this. There is nothing in it. It's just plain application. I wrote it, and this is white view. Just let me drag a UI button over here. Let me put it at the bottom of the screen. So if you see over here, on new export, you have this option called use Autolayout. I'm going to disable it just to kind of show what's going to happen if we disable it and what's going to happen if we use Autolayout. So this is my button on a portrait mode. If I rotate to landscape mode, the button is invisible. It's gone because on a non-auto layout mode, the button is capturing the position or the frame, which is, you can see over here, is this particular X is 124 pixel from X-axis, this pixel from Y, and this is the size and width. But let's just change it to auto layout mode just by clicking on this, right? So this is at the bottom of the screen on portrait. This is on bottom of the screen on landscape. So what it means is when we drag the button initially, in the first time, we told interface builder that this is where I'm going to position my button. But in auto layout mode, we are telling that we need this button at center of the screen, and from bottom of the screen it needs a padding of this much. So this is how we're describing the UI component. That's why it's called descriptive. And for everything, so that if you see the difference between your hard-coded layout and auto layout, hard-coded layout is not descriptive. In auto layout it describes that you want to center your button horizontally in a super view, and it needs to have fixed distance from the bottom of the super view. So this is your description. The constant is how you define this description into linear equation. So your button's center needs to be equals to your super view center, and bottom needs to be up minus some padding from the super view bottom. So we already saw the demo for that. Also another thing is that when you select in super view mode, there's some new things over here that's called constraints. It's called vertical space with something, and then center X alignment. I'm going to touch those things in a while. They have properties and everything also, their priorities and other stuff that I'm going to talk about. So when you describe the layout with constraint, the frames are calculated dynamically or automatically. So as in when you run your app, you can do it using code. In interface builder, I just drag and drop. You can do it using code. For code, you need to use this API, which looks a bit longer, but if you follow these things, there is first item 1, then there is attribute. Is related by. So if you see the equation on top, it's called item 1 dot attribute 1 equals to some multiplier into item 2 dot attribute 2 plus constant. I'm going to explain this with the example that I've just created. Let's jump into the example. So in this case, your button is your item 1. So that's where you put constraint with item button. Attribute is where you want to position it. Center or left or right or top or bottom, where you want to position it. And related by is here we have specified equal. You can specify a lot of other things also, which we are going to talk about. The next thing is how you are going to define your constraint, which is your reference. Here our reference is the super view. So you are specifying we are going to write a constraint with super view, and we calculate the super view center. And the multiplier is basically, let's say, here the multiplier is 1, but in some case you might want to split the screen into half and kind of use half portion of the super view or something, then the multiplier can be 0.5 or something. So similarly, the bottom position is just you are using some padding or constant there. Let's do it using code. The example that I did, I already have some code for it. Code with me. And NS layout constraint is actually the class. So first I just created a button, and this is the constraint which I created as I explained in the slide, and I'm going to add it to the super view. And there's again another like catch here, where you're going to add your constraint. Is it to the super view, or is it to the sub view or parent view? So that's also something I'm going to explain. In this case, I'm just telling that, okay, put my button at the center of the super view and put it from 20 pixels from bottom of the page. So if I remove whatever I've done over here, this is just a plain view. and I'm just going to build it, is going to create the same thing using code. The same behavior. So that's all about how you want to create it using code. The way you add it is using add constant, like you add Subh, like using add Subh API. Here you use add constant and you specify the constant. The question comes where you want to add it. So there are basically 3 rules for it. If the constants are siblings, then you need to add it to the parent of it. For in this example, the constants like button is like one component. If you want to add another label or something, then both are going to use the super view. Then you need to add the constant to super view. But let's imagine you have another view, another container view within your main view. Then you probably need to add it to the grandparent of the sibling or the main child element. So I'm going to show it by using another demo. Let's you can also, in interface builder, you can directly change the mode over here, the orientation from portrait to landscape to see how it exactly looks on a different view if you want to see it. So in this case, I have another label. So I added both of them to the super view, and this all looks good. But let's say my button has some title or some label which is bigger. Right? So when we build this thing, it's kind of overlapping on each other, but if you run it on the landscape, it looks fine, right? So this is where you can specify few more things which are called priorities. So which constraint will take priority over which one? And another thing is that how you use multiple hierarchy or how you manage multiple hierarchy. So you need to choose something called leading space to super view. Select it, and over the properties you need to. So for the first equation we selected equal. Here you can choose a few more things like the non-equal equations like greater than or equal. So you can select this button is going to take the default position from the left hand side. Also, this label is going to take the default position from left side. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so this doesn't really look nice because on portrait mode it's kind of centered on landscape. It's not really nice. So what I've specified over here is there's something called priority that you can say over here. You have to select the right constraint for which constraint you need to set the priority. In this case, I need to change the priority of the button. So the lesser priority means the other constraints are going to take precedence over the one that has got less priority. So once you set the priority, it's going to kind of let's do it again. So So in this case, it looks nice on landscape mode, but in portrait mode, it's getting truncated. So what you need to do is you need to specify another constraint, or you need to specify that irrespective of the orientation, it needs to take certain space from left or right of the super view. So that's something you can specify by clicking on the element. And there is something here that looks like an eye. You can specify leading or trailing space. If you want to specify certain space from right hand side, You can choose trailing space. If you want to have some width from left hand side, then you can choose leading space. Over here you can do trailing space, and you can specify greater than or equal to, then you can just select the standard option. Now it's going to look nicer both on landscape, but the button text is coming out. Yeah, so now it looks nicer. So specifically how you select the constraint is very important. This is something really new for all of us, but that's where you can specify the priorities, which constraint takes over which one. And the next few things that you probably need to check is how to specify inequality constraint, how to specify or set priorities for these constraints, and how to specify cross-view constraint. So yeah, that's all about auto layout. You can just go through the WWDC videos. There are 3 videos for that. If you want to know a little bit more in detail, you can just follow the guides, the FOCO auto layout guides, because it was being introduced on Mac last year. On iOS, it's being introduced this year. Yeah, then I'm going to talk about Passbook. So on Passbook, basically I'm going to talk about how you can create your passes and how you share your passes with your users. Because this is something really cool that has happened in iOS6. So yeah, this is how it looks on your application when it's loaded with all different type of passes. Now the beauty of this thing is that you don't really need to build an iPhone application to share passes with your users. You can share passes via email, or you can share passes through a link, or you can share passes also using an iPhone application if you already have one. But it's more like a newsstand application where you build your own magazine or your own newspaper for the newsstand. So this is something similar. You build your own passes for these applications, and agent one is as long as it's specified with a certain criteria, the users will be able to add it to their application. This is when a particular pass is selected. All the other passes kind of goes to the bottom of the screen, and they have this nice feature called update on lock screen based on geolocation or time. So let's say you are a Starbucks, you are giving away some promotion, and you want to notify the user when he's within certain proximity. This automatically happens if you have selected certain fields. So what exactly is within a pass? All these things are there, mostly icons, images, the local strings for localization. The main important file is this pass.json, which you are going to modify. And this is how it looks. They have a little bit more files like for localizations, also like French, German, and all these things. They have this manifest.json, which is kind of a file which tells what are the other files within that directory. The signature is basically ensures that it's from a valid developer, it's not a random path that has been added or saved with the user. So to create a pass, you basically need to do these 5 things. So one is enter a pass identifier, choose a pass style. They have 5 different styles. Fill out the user visual fields. You can add your colors or logos or images, and you can specify relevant time or locations. There are 3 different types of identifiers. One is the team identifier. If you are building an iPhone application, you already know that there is a team identifier for every team on the iOS developer portal. And the pass identifier is basically the key. It tells the application whatever pass it is, For example, in this case, it's a store card. I'm going to tell about what are the other different type of passes available. The serial number is a very unique number, it's specific to one particular pass. So the combination of this pass type identifier and serial number that define that this particular pass is unique globally. So its pass identifier is similar to your bundle identifier on an iPhone application. So there are 5 different styles that I mentioned. So it's very important to choose the right one that's kind of relevant to your passes. The coupons, store cards, boarding passes, event tickets, and there's something called generate. So store cards are mostly used for coffee shops, any kind of stores. Coupons you can use for any kind of discount coupons or anything. Boarding passes you can use not only for flights but you can use for any mode of transportation. Event tickets definitely. Generally, if you have something that doesn't fall into this category, you can choose the generate one. And again, all these passes have certain fields that you need to fill up within the JSON file. So the top one is kind of the header field where your logo goes, where the text of the company goes or the name of the company goes. Again, depending on the type of pass, the primary, auxiliary or secondary field kind of changes. So each of them, and there's an I button at the bottom that kind of, once you click on that, then goes to the back side of the pass and it shows some more information about the pass. For example, the user agreements for it, like airline ticket or anything. And that user can also delete the pass if it goes on to the back side of the passes. So in every field you have few things. One is key, the key that your passbook understands, the label that's kind of visible to user, the values, again the values are the values for the label, the text alignment. Every field has a default text alignment that you can override. Change message is something that's kind of, let's say, for boarding passes, you have given a pass or boarding pass to a user, and the pass shows that the flight is going to come on this particular gate, and the gate number is changed. So you can use push notification to change the gate number using Passbook. So change message is the message that kind of gets displayed. Again, it's dynamic. It can be displayed in runtime based on certain parameters. It can come from your server side as well. And date and time style. So especially what kind of format, like in US people follow month, DD, YY or other things. They can choose the date and time style. This is how it looks in the JSON file. If you see the header fields, this look over one section is called gate. The value is 82. The change message is get changed to certain string. You can specify the string over there. At the bottom there is something called transit type, and these are some standard defaults. Based on that, they draw this image of this flight or boat or kind of any other mode of transportation, like train or whatever. So yeah, you can choose the transit type for boarding passes. Colors, the background color will be specified based on the background color. By default, it applies a gradient. The foreground color by default is white. You can override it. And the label color, it's automatically being chosen for you based on the background color, but you can override it. Now coming back to the most important part, which is like the barcode. Before that, the different logos and images that you can specify logo or logo text. If your logo contains, the image contains the text, then you don't need to specify the logo text. There is a background image, and again, depending on the path, they use the background image differently. For the store card, they use kind of center-stick background image. For event tickets, they kind of add a background image, and they use something else called thumbnail image. Then coming back to barcodes, they only support 2D barcodes. They don't support 1D barcode. There is a reason for it, because users are going to carry their devices, either iPhone or tablet, and 1D barcode scanners most of them are laser based, so it doesn't really scan well on digital devices. That's why they are using 2D barcodes like QR code or Aztec or PDF 417. which is kind of can be scannable from camera or any other digital devices. So you specify the message, you can specify all text. All text is useful. For example, the text below is all text. It may not be same as your message. If the barcode somehow doesn't work, and in the center they can manually enter this all text to fetch the details about this pass. Again, locations and time is for relevance. They allow maximum up to 20 locations, so you can specify geocoded maximum of 20. And the relevance date is the date when you want the interest valid. And the proximity is not user defined, is set automatically depending on the pass. So if it's a Starbucks, let's say, they might choose a different proximity than if it's a airport. So to enable it, obviously you need to go to your developer portal, you need to configure it for creating passes, configure or create a certificate to be able to create passes for Passbook. You can share, as I mentioned, through your own app using Passkit. You can email it, and the users can add it to a native email client, and you can share it to a link that Safari can open. But before that, I'll show how you kind of get started using or creating passes. So if you go to www sample course, you will have the Passbook sample course. You go to the passes section, passes directly. There are all the different type of passes here, tour card, boarding pass, or whatever. Let's open one. So all these are like icon, logos, manifest, and this is actually, as I mentioned, is the main file, pass.json. So it's kind of consists of everything that I talked about. The pass type identifier is going to be the, so you can literally copy this sample code and change the values of as per your passes, change the images as per your passes, and you can share that pass with anyone. So I kind of created a pass. Let me see how I can show it.
Is there a way to see what you're doing without actually going through the entire process? Can you just open it up in a...
No, the problem is I cannot open it up on simulator because on simulator I don't have the mail client.
Okay.
And on simulator the Safari won't download any files.
Okay.
So yeah, so I need to show it on my device somehow.
So every time if you're generating a new pass for whatever thing, you have to test it on a live device. You can't test it on a simulator.
No, if you're using Passkit, then you can test it.
Okay.
Or you can add passes.
So Passkit is like another...
Yeah, Passkit is the library that allows user to create or modify passes from an iPhone application, existing iPhone application.
Okay.
Let's say you Starbucks has an iPhone application. They want to dynamically generate a pass for users,
right.
So they can generate using Passkit.
Okay.
So
it's a framework for Objective-C.
yeah. So basically, if you can see, this is the email.
No.
Okay, so something you can see, right? So I tap on the email, so this is an email that's being sent by me. So you can see there is this path. So if it's correctly configured, it will appear as a path. If there's some mistake, it will appear as a random or normal attachment. You can tap on this path and it opens up the path. Okay. So you have the add button here. You add it and it adds it to your passbook. So if I go back now to my passbook application, I have few more passes over here, but this is the one I kind of created using just modifying the JSON file. And you have the QR code and other details over here. If you tap on the eye icon, you can go back to the back side. Currently, for this pass, I don't have anything on the back. The other passes, so this is the pass. It's an event pass. You go to the back side, you have a lot more information, text over here. And you can tap on the delete button. This is probably you have seen on the Apple WWDC videos. So yeah, so this is going to do the animation for the delete operations. So yeah, that's about Basket. You can just go through Ray's blog, the links below. I'm going to share the slides on the iOS desktop, Facebook group. These are very good resources that explains kind of how to go from starting to ending by creating passes and different passes. And definitely WWDC videos. So they have 2 different videos. Okay, that's it from my side. I'll hand over the mic to Gary. Thank you.